Hello everyone, and welcome to my podcast. Today, I want to talk about the importance of inner work. What is inner work? How can we do it? And why are a lot of people afraid of it? Afraid to dig in deep and understand themselves and the reasons they are the way they are. So yalla, what is inner work? Inner work is the ongoing process. Ongoing. That means we are always in one way or another doing it. That is, of course, if we decided to. So it is the ongoing process of exploring, understanding, and transforming our inner world. What's our inner world? It's our beliefs, our thoughts, our emotions, our patterns, and our past experiences, so that we can live, lead, and parent from a place of awareness rather than reactivity. So how does it look like when someone hasn't done the inner work? Well, it's when a person is acting from the subconscious mind, meaning they are doing what was done to them and saying what was said to them. They didn't consciously decide on how they want to act and what they want to say and how they want to say things. Taiwan would say here, how? If they said something, that means that they thought about it and decided to say it. Yeah, but let's question further. Why did they think the way that they thought? Where is that coming from? So let me give you an example about myself. I remember early on when I was around 13 or 14 years old, something happened. I don't remember the details of it, but I remember I was walking with a friend of mine, and then another friend comes and tells us about something that happened with him. And I remember that my reaction was to joke about it. Meanwhile, the better reaction was to check if he is okay, which thankfully my friend did. So I learned that from her. Then later, when I reflected and thought back about why I reacted the way I did, it was about reacting in a way that makes me seem cool. The subconscious thought was regarding how I was seen by others, and back then and at that moment, that was what took over. I wanted to be seen as cool, and being funny achieves that. But although it's okay and nice and entertaining to be funny, it's not appropriate at all times. That was my lesson from that encounter. There is a time and place for everything. And at that moment, I would have wanted myself to be more kind and concerned. So I took that lesson and I tried to apply it in my daily life until now. And it doesn't always work. Sometimes I react in a way that I would rather react in a better way. But that's okay. I'm human. I'm capable of making mistakes, and also it's not like we're always concentrating on those things, I just try to do better next time. So the reflection here, although it wasn't over something that major, it was a little encounter that most people wouldn't think twice about. But for me, it was important to reflect because I didn't like the way I reacted. So I wanted to reflect and decide how I would want to act when and if a similar situation reoccurs. And this is what internal work and self-reflection is about. And also, one can go deeper into why I valued being cool and funny. That's how you get to understand yourself better. You get to understand what is being influenced externally by the environment and decide who you want to be. And it's very important to decide who you want to be. And in order to get to understand ourselves better, we need to ask ourselves so many questions. You know these Instagram reels on the questions that you need to ask your partner before marrying them? Well, we need to ask them to ourselves first. We need to know ourselves before we get married and have kids. And I'm not saying that we will or can know ourselves fully before marriage and kids, and maybe ever, because you also get to know yourself more and more from experiences. Experiences that make you think about things that never occurred to you before. So whether we're able to know ourselves fully or not, no issues. Let's just work on ourselves now and get to know ourselves better to a higher degree for now. And in order to get to know yourself better, you gotta ask yourself, and I'm going to give you some examples of the questions that you can ask yourself. Why did I react this way? Why did this make me angry? Why is it so important to me? Where does this belief come from? Why do I believe that I need to do so much to deserve love? Why do I believe that my self-worth is related to having someone love me or being in a relationship, even if it's an unhealthy one? Why do I believe that looks are so important? Why do I believe that they matter? And how is that affecting my decisions? What is the emotion trying to tell me? Emotions are messages, so we need to feel them, understand them, and process them. Why am I feeling this way? Sometimes I feel a certain way, like I'm angry or I'm upset, and I don't know where it's coming from. Sometimes it's not so clear. Like, what made me feel this way? So I would need to sit with myself and write to figure it out. That's how I process my emotions and get to know myself better, because it does tell you something about yourself. And then after understanding and deciding what I want to do about it, I feel calmer. Another question is, what am I avoiding or numbing? What am I afraid of? So here, let's go into why people avoid inner work. Some people feel like if they opened that door, it wouldn't close, like opening a can of worms. They are afraid of losing it because maybe they don't have the time to work through everything and they need to keep a strong front. They need to keep it together because they have a lot of responsibilities. Some are afraid of what they might find out about themselves. Some are afraid of finding out that they aren't good people. I know, this one is interesting. Some are afraid of finding out that they have an issue or be diagnosed with something. It's like the mentality of not going to a doctor because I'd rather not know if there's something wrong. Some are afraid of being vulnerable with another person and be seen as weak. Some are afraid of not finding solutions, as in, okay, I'll take a good look at myself, but then what? And some are afraid of the change they need to make afterwards, because even if their current situation isn't ideal, it's still familiar. And our mind loves what's familiar, as I mentioned in the previous episode. Some see it as a lot of work and think, here I am, I'm all right, I'm doing fine, there's no need for all of this. And truly, a lot of people only seek help after hitting rock bottom. They don't notice how the way they are acting is affecting the most important people in their lives. And once they lose it all, they finally take a look at themselves. This is more common for men. For women, and from what I've seen, it affects their health. If they don't do the inner work and reflect and decide who they want to be and how they want to act, their physical health takes a hit. And this reminds me of a personality that Gabor Maté talks about. The super kind, super loving and giving personality that doesn't stand up for herself and just keeps it in, keeps all the negative emotions in. This personality tends to get diagnosed with diseases like cancer, ALS, and autoimmune conditions. Now, Gabor Maté doesn't claim that these traits cause illnesses in a simplistic way, but rather that chronic emotional suppression can lead to dysregulation in the nervous system, immune system, and hormonal balance, increasing vulnerability to disease. So these traits include people-pleasing, constantly prioritizing others' needs over their own, emotional suppression, repressing anger, sadness, or discomfort just to keep the peace. Having a rigid role, like being the strong one, the reliable one, the caregiver, the person who's always there for everybody. And self-neglect, not expressing or even recognizing their own needs or limits. Self-reflection and inner work is required to understand why you are so giving, why you are so understanding, why you always put others' needs before your own. Was this the role you played as a child to receive and feel loved? Or did you see your mom playing that role and you accepted it as the norm, as in, this is how a woman should act and be? Understand where it's coming from and decide who you want to be instead. And choose that person every day. Choose acting and being the way you want to be, even if it's unfamiliar at first. It will take time, but it will become familiar. And if you need help in your journey of inner work, please feel free to reach out. You'll find my email and phone number on Instagram at balanced.mindsets and on my website balancedmindsets.com. This is what I do. I help people understand themselves and identify who they want to be and what they want, and work on achieving it together. So that's it for me today. I hope that this episode highlighted the importance of inner work and encouraged you to take the time to reflect. Don't let yourself reach rock bottom or wait for your body to tell you to do the work. Do the work now. ويلا, I'll see you next time.